All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5th Veloren Reading Club. I have this little slide. Wait, oh my goodness, I can't right over here. Cameras are backwards. And so today we have a pretty interesting topic. In the last few reading clubs, we've taken a look at what the sort of process is behind some very core systems in Veloren. But in this one, we're going to take a step back. We're going to hear from one of the newer contributors to the project, Julian Coffey, who's going to come in and talk to us about what it's like to do first-time contributions. And so Julian has worked a lot on different parts of combat and also some dev tooling, and that's what we're going to be exploring today. And so I'm sure Julian will go much more into depth, but just a little bit of an overview. We're going to be looking at some config files and seeing what the process is to add content into the game and step all the way through from a pull request, or I guess code first, then going into a merge request and seeing what the process is there. And then hopefully we will end off this session with a little bit more of like an interactive kind of thing where I'll go through and do a little bit of code review on some of the merge requests that we have open for Veloren right now. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Julian onto stream here and swap out the different window here. So Julian, I will hand it over to you.
Yes. Hello. I would like to talk about how we add a non-playable character to the game, or not exactly character. We call it entity because I will show some example of entity which is not exactly character. So the core part of it is our struct entity config. It's what you will see when you edit some, I don't know, dungeon enemy or something. So like it has name, it has some body, alignment, it has some weapons, and so on. So most of it pretty intuitive, I think. Some is more complex. For example, when we want to create inventory, the most used part is actual equipment, like armor, weapons, yes, and some things like lanterns or gliders. So, and because we don't always want to create everything manually, like I will show code out for cultist like this, and creating this for every new NPC. For example, we want to add new kind of fox, like, and we will need to give it some weapons, like I don't know what weapon fox has, and some equipment. We just specified like that we want to get default equipment using our body, or we can just use a tacit like this one. I will show what this struct is a bit later, but just but it's like the same entity config, but not for a whole entity, just for equipment.
Just a quick question I'm wondering. So on the left, we're seeing that we have like the Rust code that is able to decode like this type of file. And then on the right, this is like a file that we can create that represents the cultist. And so essentially, you're not only able to just add in like what the cultist should have, but then also a little bit about how the cultist should work. So for example, I'm seeing here for like the armor, actually, it has some details about how it works as well. And so on the right, this is like a configuration file of the cultist, right?
Yeah, well, it's configuration file. It's this one, so it's configuration file for equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will show them both. So every entity has equipments, and to split it in some parts and then reuse it, we have a separate configs file for equipments and for entities. And I'm sure we have example when we have the same base equipment for multiple entities.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So today I will show details on how you do create your entity when we get to creating our new travelers. But basic idea of entity config is that it's like a pure definition of what that entity could be. For example, our cultist may have axe or sword or staff or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have entity config, we don't know which one of choices it will have. So yes. And to actually create entity with almost exact parts, like it will have exactly thought out, not something or choices, but just X or just stuff or just POW. And after that, we use that entity info to actually spawn our NPC. It's done in server code. It has yet another struct, but it's almost the same as entity info. It just converts it to more convenient structure. So yes, so table very abstract show how we spawn our entities. Each chunk has some structure called chunk supplement, which is basically vector of all entities. And we just iterate over this chunk and tell our server to create NPC. Pretty simple. So that's all what I wanted to. And some example of our entity configs. The most simple example is probably our animals. Like it has automatic name for crocodile. It is aggressive because it has alignment enemy. It has default loadout, and it has loot from loot table. We can see what this loot has. It can have a tough hide or some meat. Mm-hmm. Pretty simple. Okay, next, more complex configs is our dungeon enemies. So they have name. They yet have a random body, because I think we have male Hanivas and female. They are aggressive. They have their bow and basic loadout. It's very similar to cultist, actually. Oh. Wrong directory. Yes. It's more simple, actually. And it also has a skill set. And skill set is just combination of skills or skill trees. And to see how actual skill tree looks like, we can take a look at this file. So it just creates some skills we want to have for our character. So, and the most interesting part, I think, that it is why I said it's not actually character, because it doesn't need to be alive. For example, if you saw this fire thing in Haniva dungeon, that's how it described. So it's just a simple object Haniva sentry. Okay, and the most complex we have now is our village guards, because they have weapons, they have basic equipment, and they have potions. That's the same potions everyone hates, and they say they have infinite potions. No, they have only 25. Okay, and that's all with example. And to the interesting part, where we will create new NPCs. And to be exact, we will create new travelers. This is how our traveler looks like now. No, it's pretty like usual dungeon enemies. And you will see here that they don't have potions, and they don't have potions because that's the new stuff that was added in recent MR, and that's why you need to migrate all your assets if you're using custom assets. So the way they have proportions is this one small details. We create a function that will use that loadout we have and add some stuff by returning new loadout builder. And that's how it's currently done for travelers. So it sees that we have, I guess I will need to quickly explain how our dirty sim works. It doesn't use chunk supplement like all other entities do. So they're created a bit differently. I'm not sure how exactly, because I haven't touched that field too much, but I think there will be.
Do you mean the question that Zester asked in chat? Oh, sorry, on YouTube. What would happen if we wanted to add something like animal armor later on? How do you think that should be implemented?
Well, if you just want to add new armor, yes, we'll use that function. Yeah, I will show you example. Site settlement mod rs. For example, we have merchant, and the important part of merchant is that they have their goods, and every merchant has their own goods. And so we add some function to extend their inventory by giving them packs with items like this, like we just create new pack and then fill it with items, but by putting new random armor to each slot. And how we use the pack, we just take our thought out builder, like here is the same interface. Then we add our packs, like a bag with food, with potion, with weapons, and so on. And so if we will want to have chickens with armor, we will do the same thing and create functions and takes throw out builder. And for example, we can add a chest. I will need to take a look, for example. Yeah.
So with this method, we're able to add armor to a bird just by saying it also has like a chest, so it can use chest armor?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it is very rarely needed, but as example with merchants, it is needed because it uses economy information about about the village where this merchant lives in. So let's start with our UMR. First thing is we need to fetch current state from master. I will explain it very shortly. Like Git has notion of remotes. So you have your copy of project on disk and on and on server. And if you want to sync stuff from that remote server, you use fetch. So you fetch changes from that server. And by doing git fetch command. Next, you specify your remote. So like that. So GitLab.com Veloren Git, it's our main repository. It's this one. And next you specify branch. Master is main branch. So, and after you have all the changes, you have a branch like remote origin master. And if you want to have your local master the same as origin master, you do git rebase to origin master. And now we have all commits the same as our own repository on GitLab.
So essentially what we've done is made sure that what we're working with is the most up-to-date version as what's on the sort of like main branch that everybody else is using?
Yes.
Okay.
Now we create our own branch. You can do it with git branch, like git branch and name, and then you change your branch from master to your new branch, or you can do it like that with checkout -b. So like checkout and create a new branch. And then we create our branch. The name can be arbitrary, but in Veloren we use that convention that first part is your nickname, and second part is your branch name, like you travelers. Okay, and now we don't yet have nothing new, but we will see that our branch now is not mastered anymore, but Julian Coffee new travelers. Okay, so how do you start with adding new NPC to the game? I will probably if you want to just edit some NPC, you can do it without code. But if you want to add new NPC, most of the time you need to edit the code where this NPC is defined. For example, if you want to add new dungeon enemies, you will do it in this file. For example, if you want to add a new enemy to our starter dungeon, it will increase this code generates random number from 0 to 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we want our third enemy with something new, we will add this line of code. We will pass here our random number generator and our asset path like here. But we will do something more interesting. We will create a new RTC. RTC stands for real-time simulation, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. And that's how we do it with our entity configs. Yes. Yeah. So we just look at the body of our entities, and then we use RTSIM kind. If I'm not mistaken, it's actually like that. So it can be random stuff, like I don't know, it can be bird, of actually it can be traveler too, or it is cultist or villager or merchant. And if we will look at function humanoid config, we will see something like that. So if it cultist, we take our config file for a cultist. If it's villager, we take our config file for villager, and so on. And we have our traveler config, but it's kind of boring because if you look at our traveler, it's weak, like it has green, if I'm not mistaken, sword. Yeah, and not that cool stats. But it also means that all of our travelers are kind of good, but not great. And we don't have like weak travelers like our starter players. So if some player sees travelers, they try to fight them, and they got crushed. And if it's 10 game player, it's kind of boring because nothing can even touch you. So to solve this, we will create a new couple new kinds of travelers, like a very weak traveler or very strong. So let us go to our directory as travelers. Yeah. And let us create new very weak traveler. So we'll call it as Greenhorn Traveler, for example, and it needs to be enum. Next, it is still human. Well, not human, but humanoid. It can be a dwarf or orc or human too. And it is NPC. Align. So that's where it comes to interesting part. Thought out. We wanted to have some strong weapons, and there I will just use what we tried to do, but if we haven't finished that mark because we didn't have needed systems. That's how it looks like. Yeah. Hence, so what this does, it creates choice of starter weapons. Actually, it's quite strong, but well. We will balance things later. So it's the same as we have here. Now we want to give it some other equipment like chest, gloves, and everything else. So we will create. Yes. And first thing we might to do is like this. So create some config file, assets common loadout vault reveler. Yeah. Right. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm right. Here and just add chest like silk chest or hide chest or bronze chest like we have here this choice, but because for each choice we drop a new random number, and for example we will have something like this choice I don't know, like silk. It's not correct because it should path to our item, but for example we will just do this or hide or bronze. And same for our legs, for example. Oops. So what will happen is that our character will have like hide chest, but bronze legs, or bronze chest but silk legs, or like it will be all mixed and not that fancy. So what we will do instead, we will use choice like the same choice we have here, but instead of items we will use loadout assets. Loadout asset. So yeah. Okay. And the first number is weight of our asset. For example, if we want to have most of the time travelers in bronze, we will give it weight 10 and like bronze, like traveler bronze. And for silk, it will be like 1. And for example, for hide set, it will be 5. Yes. And now instead of doing a choice in each item, we can choose from actual loadouts. So we will remove that file we just created, traveler 0, and instead we will create new directory traveler 0, and then in this directory we will have bronze set. Oh, yes, we don't have bronze set. Okay. Why? I guess we will have iron set. So, and we don't have our weapons in our config for equipment because we have it here. Okay. And still X is probably not going to stay because it's a bit stronger. Well, and the same for and the same for hide and silk if we have those. Yes, we have wool, and I think it is thicker than silk because silk is tier 3 or something like that. And we don't have happens to. Okay. And for hide, I think leather is our choice. Okay, we go. Copy that. we don't want it to have row height for some reason, and we don't want it to have armor. Yeah. So it might have a back or no. And here we will need to change it to wizard. And we have created our traveler, at least most important parts.
So at this point, sort of like what we have inside this file, like if I read it, like from top to bottom, we've added the functionality for it to have some type of name, some type of body, but then we've spent most of the time looking at what the loadout is. And so we've seen how we could have like some different choices here between what they have, like what they're wearing in on their hands, what main asset that they're using. And then one thing I've just been wondering about is when we write, like for example, choice 10, 5, 1, does this mean we have a higher chance of picking the number 10 than the number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it have more face. But we don't want that probably, so I will just leave everything equal. Yes, and each travelers need potions, but our greenhorn traveler doesn't have much, so for example it will be 10. And some loot table. We will just leave it humanoid for now. And also important part is skill set. And we will give it some big skill set, like for rank 1, I guess. And after we created our new traveler, it would be cool if we could check if we did everything right. So for that we have our tests. Oh yeah. So this command will run all tests from common crate. If we want to check just entity config, we can write generation because it's where tests for entity configs are defined, like here. So we just take every entity config and validate that they are all correct. This will compile our common crate and then we'll run all tests.
While we're waiting, I'm just going to add one question here. So Calicast asks, do these NPCs gain skill points when they kill players, like we do when we kill them?
They do, but they don't know how to spend them yet.
That'd be kind of cool. So maybe like one more thing that you might add to a config file of a traveler might include like what skills it can acquire. and then it will choose how to do that as it explores around the world?
Maybe, but for that we'll need a more formal way to describe our. Oh yes, a more formal way to describe how our artificial intelligence of NPC works, and we don't have that yet, but I know it is being worked on. So in future, yes, we can add fields that will describe how this entity will work, like will it spend its skill points or anything, like will it hit cultist or not, and that kind of stuff. And the very reason why we have tests, because not all not all code you write is actually correct, especially when you don't have any support from your IDE. So it says that it couldn't load entity world traveler is 0 because we incorrectly specified body, and it's instead of just random, we need to use random with. Let us run test again. Cool.
Oh, that's cool. So it didn't need to recompile. Since it's already compiled, it's just looking at the configuration file. It's able to just do this again instantly.
Yeah. And now I think it's syntax error. Okay. Extended. It expected array at position line 6. Yes. Expected array of items, like we have in our entity for guard.
Yeah.
What? Still alive. I knew I will write this word incorrectly. Oh, nice. Creature. Cool. We just created our new traveler, and honestly, I planned to create all of them and add them to the game, but we don't have that much time. So I will just commit what I have. And
so essentially, now that we've added the functionality, like what we're trying to do now is make it so that we can merge it back with the master branch.
Yeah, we have added our config files, yeah, and proper way to do this, to add them to actual game would be add them to this function. So something like here, we will have traveler, and this file entity world traveler 0. But we will need to add a new 30sim kind and so on, and it will take some time. So for now, we will just commit what we have. We will add new stuff, and so what I'm doing now is that I tell to Git like here I added new files. Could you please remember that? And after that, I say, oh, I want to create like mini version of my code where these files are added. So it just will git commit and -v for boss. So we can quickly review what we will done. We added a new traveler config, and we added 3 loadout configs. So yeah. Now, if we will see our git log, we have our master branch on our GitLab, and here is our new branch Julian Coffee new travelers. And what will we do next is to get our changes to main repo. We will push our branch new travelers, and the format is pretty much the same as with git fetch. So we say git push, then we specify our remote, and dev on my machine means Veloren dev repository. So if we have 2 repositories, one for main infrastructure, all code and that stuff, and dev repositories for dev branches. So after I've done that, it says me if you want to create a merge request, go to Veloren GitLab, and that's what we will do. Oh. Mm, it says that I've pushed it to dev repo, and if I want to create merge request, I will push this button. And we can see that it creates merge request from dev repository to main repository when where we want to have all of our code. I will agree to release my code under GPL-free license, and I will mark it as draft because it's not yet finished. And after that button, I have my merge request, and now other people can see my changes like that. And after that, I will invite you with your idea of code review. It's something we do to check that new code is actually good, and we want to have it in our repository. So if you have any questions, type them to Discord probably.
I can also put up a few from chat on YouTube. So one more thing that Zester mentioned, I really like how powerful entity config is becoming, because it makes it easier to do complex things without touching Rust code. And so, for example, we saw how we have functionality through choosing items randomly. We have the ability to choose what characters should have to connect to other configuration files and stuff like that. And then also, looking forward to seeing how we can expand entity config with some of the new RT sim. So adding in more functionality about how different things can interact with the world, I think is pretty cool as well.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and one more. Imagine defining character behaviors and personality with it. Yeah, so doing that directly from a config file would be very cool.
Yes.
Have you used the review command before?
Huh?
Are you able to use the review command on Discord?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe we can show this off. So on Discord, we have a bot that if you type in a merge request number, so we can go back and see that this one is 3180, then inside of Discord with the bot, we can type in the number, and then when Julian hits enter, then it will create a new thread that people can talk in. So I was just pinged through that as well. So I can come over here and like wave like that, easy peasy. But this is like a really great way so that when you come in and work on something, no matter what the level is, you can create this type of thread and have code reviewers come check it out. But Julian is adding just like a little disclaimer here, just because it does ping a decent amount of people about reviewing it. In the future, we definitely want to build out this functionality so that we can see more people coming in as code reviewers. But maybe what I can do is I'll take over the screen, Julian, and then show off like what my perspective is for the code review side. Does that sound all right?
Yes.
Perfect. So here's what I have. Let me just change my screen a little bit. So I do get lab in dark mode, so a little bit different there. But I was taking a look at some other ones earlier. We currently have 49 merge requests, so quite a few. Let me make this a little bit bigger. And so as a code reviewer, when I go in, I tend to take a look at different parts of code quality, seeing what things may or may not make sense, and more often than not, just asking questions about the code. We have a lot more core developers who know how a lot of the systems work, and for them, it makes more sense to go in and say, well, this doesn't really interact with this system as well, and so it might not be good to do it this way. But if I go into Julian's code here, this is a lot more combat oriented. And so maybe people on the combat team can come take a look at this, or pick people on the design team or anything like that. So it'd be helpful if we could have some functionality in the future to ping the right people. But as like a reviewer, what I might do, like I can like select these lines and then say, what kind of game balance is, I don't know how to spell balance. I think that's ANC is going on here, or something like that. And like as a technical reviewer, I wouldn't do something like this. This is very design oriented, but I can start a review on this, and then maybe I want to go down here and say, can we add a purple lantern? Because I think purple's a cool color. All right, so then I can add that to my review. And then when I submit my review, then we go back to the overview. Now Julian will be able to see my comments on both parts of the code. And so what the code review process normally looks like is, first of all, making sure that what the functionality that's being introduced, like what it does makes sense, that it's like what the project's aiming to have, or rather just that it doesn't like not make sense. And I also, just going through and like making tweaks and stuff like that. So a lot of the merge requests, you can probably go find one that has like 16 comments. So actually, one second, right here. I want to find one that I'm sort of familiar with. Probably have some old ones. No access module. So this one has 163 comments. Okay, let's go look at that. Okay, yeah, so Imbris is working on something here. Actually, if someone wants to link me modular weapons, that might be fun to look at as well. So this one has 4,000 lines of code added and 1,500 removed. It's a draft. Is this modular? No, this isn't modular weapons. But we could take a look through here. There's like a lot of code that's changed. So lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to comment about. And it does look like the current process of what's going on. So if we take a look at this one, wait, is this modular weapons? No, is this modular? What is this one? I don't know what this one's about. It's created by Imbris, but
it's a copy of modular weapons without or all configs or all assets and stuff, because if you will take a look and on just modular weapons, you will see a diff in like about 40,000 of code changed. And it's not very easy to review.
Yeah, okay. And so this is like, I guess, like a subset of parts of it, but like as we can see here, Imbris mentioned that like this code right here is dropped at the end of the scope, which is like a Rust kind of thing, and so then Sam was able to take a look back at it. So lots of stuff going on here, lots of discussion points, and this is like a pretty big feature branch that has been in the works for quite a while. And so a lot going into this, and so if you want to try code reviewing, like the modular weapons branch has been looking for reviewers for quite a while, as lots of stuff has improved. But now let's take a look at another one. So actually, first of all, there was a question from chat that I'll give you, Julian. So I missed a bit of the stream, but did you mention how to pull changes from master into your branch? So yeah, okay, actually we did cover that earlier on, and so we looked at how you could fetch from the main remote and the dev remote, well, I guess just the main remote, and then how you'd rebase your branch so that you'd be up to date with what's going on. But yeah, that's a pretty big part of the process of taking the code that exists on master, making sure that yours is the same, branching off, adding your feature, and then making a merge request to pull it back in. So that's like sort of the loop that we have. All right, so Ubuntu had this merge request opened a month ago, draftable fortune potion. And so this adds a potion of Ogre Fortune, and it does some stuff. And so we have, like, so it's a consumable, so you like a consumable drink. You'll probably have it in your inventory. These are the effects that it gives you. So for example, it increases your max health for 180 seconds by 10, I guess. And then also how it can be made. And so this describes what ingredients need to be put in to be able to make it. So this is like the internationalization. So like if text gets added here, then translators can more easily go and add the translations of what this might be in their language. And so we have like lots of different languages that Veloren is ongoing getting translated into. So Julian, do you want to give like a little bit of feedback about what you think about this merge request?
Well, I think it first thing I will test is how it is placed with agent system, and if they will use it correctly or just start to drink it and die. But the idea seems to be good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I think when it comes down to this type of thing, like making sure that it sort of fits with the balance of like where the game is right now. I'd also love to see in the future the ability for people to make their own items that they can sort of introduce as like a like mod pack. And so Veloren does have plugin support, so this allows you to add extra functionality to the game. But down the road, these config files that are like loaded at runtime can be introduced very easily into the game. And so with this type of thing, I mean, I don't see anything wrong off the bat. But it would make more sense for someone who does combat to be able to take a look over it and know more about it. Another one we can look at quickly. So this is by Pro Theory a few months ago. There's some discussion on it already. And so this one's more code oriented. And so it's pretty low level. It's in like the networking section. It looks like this is talking about changing a TCP listener over to something more maybe more verbose. Maybe it uses like a different Rust crate. It has some like Tokyo stuff here. Not a ton change, which is sort of surprising. But what we can then the other thing we can see is like, okay, well, what does this do for now what we have to import and build with Rust? And so this adds socket 2. All of the stuff in cargo lock is pretty standard, so nothing special there. So for myself now, I mean, normally I'd look at the overview first, and so try to get like a little bit of context about what's going on. So remove game server address setting and add protocols and addresses setting. So there's some stuff that was reviewed here. Looks like XMAC dealt with most of it, and XMAC is the mostly like the multiplayer and networking lead, and so XMAC knows a lot about this type of stuff. And so yeah, it looks like this is the big thing. So in the networking file and channel RS, so what's going on here? So options to do IPv6, I suppose, and then change the listener. So I think this one for testing, since it like changes a decent amount of like the underlying networking stuff, I'd want to play around with it and like launch it and kind of do some stuff with it. But and then maybe I'd ask some questions based on it. Another question from chat that I think is really great. What's the difference between submitting a merge request as a draft versus a regular one? So Julian, do you want to answer that?
If you mark your request as a draft, no one can by accident merge it into the game, yeah.
So all the core developers have the ability to merge stuff. So this prevents me. So for example, with this one, I can start the merge train. I can get this merged into the master branch. But then with all the drafts, it says this is open for discussion, and we can talk about it. And maybe I want some code review. Maybe I want some feedback about my approach. But it's not ready for someone to come in and seriously look at as this is the final product of what I'm trying to do. And it's also nice, it prepends the word draft up here so we can tell that it's a little bit different. If I go to merge requests, I'm sure I can search by draft. Yes, I can do that. Draft is yes. So I can see that 20 of the merge requests that we have open right now. Ooh, draft rain. Oh, cool. I didn't know this wasn't merged yet. So how are there only 2 changes here? Oh, that's cool. So I guess it's just a, oh, it's even just music. And so this is, so I don't know if Zester is still here, but is this actually all that you, like that needs to be done to add rain to the game? That's crazy, because this is just like a, I mean, it's not a small shader, and I don't know shaders very much, but this feels like a very reasonable amount of code. So that's pretty cool. Zester is typing. All right, I'm taking a look for any other stuff in chat around here. Nice day for fishing, yes, indeed. Here in Canada, it's like probably like -10 Celsius or something, so not too bad. Lots of snow outside. Oh, okay. So Zester, this is your MR. Should I just close this then? So another thing that we do during meetings is take a look at like we have like 50 merge requests open, 380 issues, and so going through and then finding stuff that isn't relevant. Check and our MR exists for first. So like this process is like kind of going through, seeing this was created 2 months ago. Is this still active? Was it reworked in some way? Checking with the original author. And so am I able to search by branch used? Target branch? Is that right? I don't think I see the branch, or actually maybe I should. Maybe I just can't find it. I'll search for one called weather. Nope, rain. I guess there's only that one, so we'll leave that for the time being. Julian, I'll hand it over to you if there's anything else that we want to cover before the end. But I think we've sort of like walked through like a little bit of the process. Is there anything else you want to end off with?
I think that's all what I wanted to say.
Perfect.
Well, I wanted to do things with our 30C system, but it's both I don't have time, and it's more complex, and it's not core things I wanted to show here. So it's good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming out today and sort of showing us this process behind getting some functionality into the game that doesn't actually require us to do a lot of, or I mean, if any, Rust development at all. And so sort of showing the process from beginning to end on what adding a different configuration file looks like. And so what types of things we might need to consider. And then also how to go about doing a pull request, or sorry, a merge request. We're on GitLab here. I do want to say, if anybody wants to come and give this a try themselves later, you're able to do this quite easily. I mean, you can clone the code, you can do it yourself. But if you want support, do come check out our Discord, because we have lots of people who'd be willing to help you. Feel free to ping Julian if you have questions about this type of thing. Adding in new content like this is a really great way for people to get their first contribution and then sort of see what the code base is up to. And also, I mean, seeing things in the game that you put there is like a really powerful feeling. So that's always very awesome. I'm just seeing if we have any more comments here. Yeah, so yes, there's lots of thanks happening in the chat. It's very cool seeing. I think we've definitely had like lots of people come through who have looked at the reading clubs and gained a lot from it. So I also want to mention, if you want to be more involved with the merge request process, the issues process, do come to our Sunday meetings. They happen at 1800 GMT every Sunday. And this is just an opportunity for us to go through, talk about the merge request, talk about the issues, close off some of them. And so it's always very fun to see. So, yes, Uncomfy Silence saying, agreed, Julian was a massive help and teacher when I first started learning how to do stuff with Veloren. So thank you very much, Julian. And we will be back in about 2 weeks with another reading club.